Parkies in a Pod is powered by Parkinson's UK, the charity that's here to support every Parkinson's journey every step of the way. Wherever you're from, whatever you need, visit parkinsons.org.uk for more information.
Hi there, welcome to Two Parkies in a Pod. I'm Dave, he's Kuan. Together we've had the dreaded lurgy for 27 years. How are you doing, Kuan?
Oh, 27 years.
Yeah.
And actually, 3.5 years of doing this podcast as well, right?
And episode 50 today, celebrating an amazing journey, that.
Yeah, we're in celebratory mood today, and we're going to have a little look back at some of the older episodes and some of the older clips as well, and reflect, and enjoy and celebrate, right?
How did it all start 3.5 years ago? Do you remember?
Well, we actually met almost exactly 4 years ago, you and I, and in a pub.
It's our 4th anniversary.
It is.
You bought me a bun to celebrate.
I did. A blueberry bun, and because that's how we do it here. No, we met like 4 years ago, and this has just been a continuation of the chat that we had in that pub, right? Those years ago.
It's quite amazing because less than 10% of podcasts make 50 episodes, which is...
Wow. Well, get this. If you listen to all episodes of Two Parkies in a Pod back to back, it will take you 2.5 days.
That'd be a great way to spend 2.5 days.
That's how long we've been rabbiting on, but we made it, right?
Yeah, the first one was just a little bit different, wasn't it?
It was. Shall we have a little listen of it?
Yeah, go on. Hi there, welcome along. This is Two Parkies in a Pod. If you've got Parkinson's or know someone with Parkinson's or just want to find out a bit more about it, this is the place to be. I'm Dave Clark. I was diagnosed a long time ago now, back in 2011.
And I'm Kuhan. I was diagnosed in 2013. And this is the first podcast in a beginner's guide. If you're newly diagnosed, you're probably feeling a bit lost.
Yeah, it's a weird feeling, isn't it, when you get diagnosed? You don't quite know what's going on. Do you remember when you were first told?
I do. I mean, even though it was so long ago, I can remember everything so distinctly. Such a range and roller coaster of emotions. One of those moments in life you never forget. And it certainly my life changed from that day onwards.
It didn't just change for the worse, though, did it? Some things actually get better when you got Parkinson's.
Yeah, it's a cliche to say, but it's one of those things that happens in life and it gives you a new perspective. People say the condition takes, but it gives as well in certain ways. And I think for me that new perspective and the new way of seeing things and appreciating life and time, and I don't think I would have had that realisation if I hadn't had the diagnosis.
Yeah, I've done a lot of travelling since I was diagnosed because I think, my travelling days might be limited. I was lucky that I had the finances I could do it, which not everyone has, but I've travelled to see Bruce Springsteen a lot, which is quite weird. I've seen him 18 times now, a bit of an obsession, but I've travelled to Perth, Australia and Cape Town, went to see him in New York as well. I don't think I'd have done that if I got Parkinson's.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of view it almost like a bit of a countdown and they try to go through their bucket list. And yeah, I think I was like that as well. But at the same time, I was my bucket list had people on it rather than places, people or things or feelings that I wanted to feel and enjoy and appreciate life, and some of that involved travelling, although I'd probably do less travelling now than I did before the diagnosis. But, other things in life, like things like work and personal relationships, all of that changed. And that was... sounds strange, but sort of thanks to Parkinson's in that way, my life has got a lot better.
You sound quite posh on that, Kuan.
God, we sound so polite, don't we?
We didn't know each other very well, did we?
No. We were still in the courting phase of things. We're being nice to each other, not like now, right? What do you make of that? Because that was February. We recorded that in February 2022. So quite some time ago. What do you make of it?
I still think it's a good listen. It's the beginner's guide to Parkinson's. If you've just been diagnosed, it's well worth a listen, I think.
Yeah,
it still stands up.
It's our most listened to episode ever.
Incredible.
Really quite incredible. The thing that I reflect on, joking aside, apart from that, we were a little bit more polite and formal, shall I say, rather than the sort of giggly podcast that we've evolved into. But I can also see the difference and chart my Parkinson's journey, talking about progression, through the course of the podcast. I can hear the
voices
symptoms.
changed.
Yeah, voices changed. At some point early on in the podcast, I can hear my dyskinesia developing. I can hear my speech sometimes being affected by that. I can hear your speech sort of changed over time as well.
I was a lot clearer back then, wasn't I?
I mean, you're still clear now, but this is all relative to a few years ago.
Yeah.
Whether you have Parkinson's or not, you're probably going to sound different anyway. If you listen back to a recording, the same way you look back at a video of yourself, you're going to look different, right? But I can hear something. I can hear tremors. I can hear movement. I can hear dystonia. I can hear dyskinesia. I can hear and picture myself at that stage of Parkinson's. And I think, if nothing else, this podcast has taught me that nothing stays the same, right? Things move on, and I've moved on. And like I was saying back in that first episode, a lot of it has been for the better.
Yeah, you've had deep brain stimulation since then as well. That's been a massive thing in your life.
It has, yeah. But also just giving back, doing stuff.
You didn't really tell people you had Parkinson's till you met me, did you?
Yeah, that's right. It was still strange for me at that time to talk about my Parkinson's, which sounds strange, but now I'm sharing so much. But at that time, I wasn't telling anybody. At that time, you could count on two hands the amount of people that I told I had Parkinson's, and then since then, I've told the world, as it were. But it's strange. It's been really good for me. It's been really rewarding for me. Sharing is caring, and this is my way and our way of sharing our Parkinson's through this podcast, and it's been very healing for me.
Incredible how much it's taken off this podcast as well. Started slowly, and now listeners around the world.
Listeners around the world, 127 countries. Listened to over 250,000 times now, which is crazy. And like I said, if you want to listen to all episodes back to back, it would take you 2.5 days. Really quite incredible, and really lovely, loyal listeners that we have. And often we hear and get messages from them, and they're very touching. And this sounds a bit self-indulgent, but, the sense of community, I think, is very important. And hopefully we've demonstrated that.
Yeah, one of my favourite episodes was the amazing Matt Eagles, who's been battling Parkinson's for more than 50 years. And he told us how he stays positive with Parkinson's.
I think what gets me through the dark times is I'm not actually allowed to be sad and dwell on things. My wife, who's absolutely brilliant, can tell if I'm feeling a bit down, and she'll sort of say, she'll either encourage me to do something or ask me the question, what you feeling sad about? And actually, when I sort of think to myself, why am I feeling sad? The answer is, I don't know. I've always been like, it's not my fault. There's nothing I can do about this. And also, it makes my symptoms worse when I'm feeling sad. So, I guess by being positive and being happy, you're able to communicate better with others. Others feel better about you. I think if you give off a bad vibe, which is understandable when you have Parkinson's, it doesn't always, I know it's not the thing people want to hear, but it doesn't always attract people to come and see you. But if you're happy and smiling, I think your symptoms get better, you feel better in yourself, and people automatically come and communicate with you. So I took a vow of positivity years ago, and I always like to get out and meet people, and that just keeps me going through the hard times. Because, to be honest, I have had some tough times. And I know, maybe not the platform, but I mean, I've actually sat and looked in the mirror and punched myself in the cheek so many times just because I got so frustrated. Fortunately, I haven't done that for years, but I have had my dark times. I haven't always been as positive as I am now.
I completely get that. One thing that you just said there, it's not my fault, I think is a theme that I think resonates for me, because I think a lot of us, I'm not sure if we blame ourselves, but when your mood starts to fluctuate and you have periods of low mood, I think it's very important to understand that this condition is what's causing that a lot of the time, because not only is it controlling our mood, it's controlling our mood and motivation. We can't help it. We can't help but have these low times, and it's not something we should blame ourselves for.
Yeah. And
at the same time, it's okay to have an off day in that sense as well. Or an off time, because we can't always be positive, and But I do like the idea of a vow of positivity. That's a great notion. And Dave and I always remark that the people that we see doing best with this condition, I wouldn't say doing well, but doing best with this condition, the people that seem to have that sort of outlook. And it's difficult to do, but if you can maintain some positive outlook on life, that state of mind influences the state of body, because the two are so intrinsically linked, and Parkinson's teaches you that very early on.
I think one of the things is everybody has their own Everest to climb, and for some people it is literally Everest. But other people, just even being able to just make a cup of coffee gives them up, and doing it successfully without spilling it, that's a positive for them. So I think you have to take pleasure in the little things that matter to you on a daily basis.
I've got a little confession to make here. I was feeling a bit flat for a couple of days, and I saw Matt was in London, so I decided to go see him because I need a bit of a Matt boost. So we met for a coffee. It was amazing because he made his way down to London from Manchester by himself. Got everything sorted out on the train. It was incredible, 50 years of Parkinson's, he's still independent, still getting dressed, coming out to London. He was going to give a prize at a big awards ceremony that night. Met him for a coffee, and he was so positive and so it was like an adrenaline shot from Parky to Parky. It was fantastic, and thank you for that, Matt, because I had 2 days of feeling down, feeling sorry for myself, and you cheered me up and made me feel great for the next week. It was fantastic.
I was very jealous of you, actually, Dave, because you managed to carry 2 drinks without spilling them. That kind of made my day.
Well, that's quite
amazing, Matt Eagles. Really, really fantastic guy. And that vow of positivity really sat with me, because I thought, let's all do that. Let's all try and be more positive. It's easy to get dragged down, and people say to us, why are we so happy all the time? Yeah. We're not happy all the time, but we try and convey happiness.
We're both listening to that now, so many years on. I can't remember when that episode was. I think it was about 2 years ago. We're smiling. We're listening. We're words of wisdom from the granddaddy of Parkinson's himself, the guy who's had Parkinson's for longer than I've been alive. I've noticed I interrupt a lot of guests on our podcast quite often, but listening to him, I just almost sat back and just writing stuff down, writing those tips down, vows of positivity, because it's true, right?
Positive people attract positive people.
They do.
And it's important that you try and be as positive as you can. But, we get criticised sometimes for being too happy on here and stuff, but, it's the way we are.
It's the way we are. I think what makes our partnership so great is that we can also feed off that energy from each other, right? Because sometimes we do have bad days or bad times, often. But, you want people in your life that pull you up rather than drag you down, right?
Yeah. And one of the most requested clips we've had was one about poo.
About poo?
Yeah.
I got sent a parcel from the NHS the other day.
Was it poo? Shortly
after my 50th birthday. It was they proactively send you a prostate kit.
Yeah. You got to send a sample of your poo on a curly stick.
Yes.
Yeah. Not the most pleasant thing in the world.
You make it sound like a Mr. Whippy.
Well, if you're not careful, it looks like a Mr. Whippy. You're only meant to send a little bit, not a whole tube.
Should I stick it on a cone and send it?
Imagine the look on the
face. I'm so laughing.
In the lab. Would you put a flake in that?
I'm laughing like a girl. I can hear myself. We're going to be talking about girls and women in a minute, but let's behave. Can I just say, on a semi-serious note, when we first started chatting, I felt really off. and I still feel off. But actually, humour is a very effective technique, isn't it?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, perfect.
It really does help with my off periods, which I've been struggling with. So I think every so often I'll stick on something funny on YouTube, or just make a joke with Helen or chat to you, and it just kind of like lifts my mood and a good giggle.
Of all the great people we've interviewed and all the things we've done, that got more requests than anything else. I don't know if it shows something about our listeners, but I had a bit of a poo experience as well, because
Yesterday, right? Last night?
I was going down to the pub to meet you.
Yeah.
Brought the dog with me, Ruby.
This was funny.
And she did a big sloppy poo on the pavement, so I had to pick it up. So I'm picking it up with a poo bag, and my glasses fell. I had my glasses tucked into the neck of my jumper, and they fell out, and they just perched beautifully in the middle of the poo.
You could have placed it better.
Right in the middle, bullseye, in the middle of the poo. So I'm thinking, what do I do here? So I picked out the glasses, covered in poo, and then I picked up the poo, and so I've got a lead, pooey glasses, and a poo bag all in my hand. I'm thinking, nightmare. No, I hope Kieran's down the pub, he can help me here. So I found a bin, put the poo bag in the bin, so I got rid of that. And then I walked down with these pooey glasses at arm's length, saw you in the pub, handed you the dog, went downstairs, cleaned the glasses, and then I was ready to go then. But, nightmare.
You said to me, hold on to Ruby for a sec, I need to go and wash my glasses because they're covered in poo. And I thought I misheard you, but they were covered in Ruby's, at least it was just Ruby's poo, right?
It's like you're a child, you don't mind your child's poo.
Yes. Every time I need a little pick-me-up, I'll listen to that clip, or some of the earlier clips where we just get the giggles. And like I said at the time, just laughter, I think, is medicine. And that's a perfect example of it.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun doing this podcast.
We do.
Meet some great people. We had an episode called Ask the Professor. Went to Queen Square, met Professor Tom Foltynie, who's a leading neurologist, and he took questions about how to prepare for your consultation when you go see your neurologist. That's what he has to say.
Not long enough, is it? Yeah. If 15 minutes is far too little, even to deal with, the pleasantries that you like to have a sort of social exchange with people, and then deal, what's the biggest problem? Let alone all the, the nuanced non-motor symptoms that there are hundreds of different things that could be discussed at every consultation. So it's not long enough, and I suppose just because of limited resources, you need people to be able to cut to the chase and say, well, this is my biggest problem, whether it's related to movement, having motor fluctuations or dyskinesia or tremor, or is it related to a non-motor problem? Is it to do with speech, balance? Is it to do with memory thinking, hallucinations? And then you can focus and spend that time on what's most important.
That's quite a challenge for us patients, because often we've got multiple symptoms. Unfortunately, that's the case in Parkinson's, and sometimes when you're put on the spot, it's not always, it doesn't come naturally, and often I find I forget things. My preparation for many years involved me sort of just sitting outside the neurologist's office in the waiting room and on my phone just typing out a few notes, whatever came to my mind at that time. It was very poor preparation, but I think what you're suggesting is focus on some of the sort of 1, 2, 3 big things, because there's not enough time to go through everything, is there? Yeah,
absolutely. I suppose that the things that every consultation will require is just a list of medications that are up to date. Often we assume that people are taking what's been written down last time, but there may have been some changes, there may have been things that weren't tolerated or side effects, and therefore things are different. And just knowing what that is puts everything in context straight away.
I don't know about you, Kieran, but when I come to my neurologist appointment, I always want to be at my best, which is probably not what you want to see me at, is it? I take my meds on time, I make sure I'm fit and well, and I come in, I say, yeah, I'm fine, and walk in a straight line, my hands are working, my voice is okay, and you probably don't want to see me like that, do you?
Well, it's sod's law, isn't it? You go to the doctor and all the problems that you had just disappear, and so you have to say, honestly, I do have this problem, believe me, but we know that, and it's all about listening and trying to hear what happens day to day.
One of the disadvantages of a short appointment is you're only seeing that person at that point in time, and the nature of Parkinson's, particularly after some time, is you do develop these on-off periods, and morning can look very different to afternoon. In fact, 10 a.m. could look very different to 11 a.m, couldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Someone that specialises in Parkinson's ought to understand that the motor fluctuations and non-motor fluctuations do occur. So how you see someone at one time point may not reflect how they are for the rest of the day or the rest of the week.
OK, we've got some listeners' questions now, starting with this guy.
Colin Wells. I was diagnosed with Parkinson's back in September 2017, so just over 5 years ago. How do you explain Parkinson's to someone newly diagnosed? How do you explain the consequences and the symptoms to someone who's just been told that they've got that condition?
So you've got to be a bit sensitive, and you've got to tailor things to what you think the patient knows already and what they want to know. You don't want to overwhelm people with information that's going to fill them with doom or despair. You have to explain that Parkinson's disease can affect different people in different ways. And if someone develops a tremor as the first thing, then you can focus on the tremor and talk about different causes of tremor and it being related to a brain problem. And it may be that you talk about those brain cells involved in tremor and slowness and stiffness aging prematurely, and that's because of the dopamine system is particularly affected. And try and frame this in a way that you can have some positives. So, if it is a problem related to low dopamine, we can use dopamine medications to try and improve the severity of the symptoms. So rather than be completely negative, you do have to be honest, but you want to put your discussion and description, appropriately to what someone's symptoms are and what they want to hear.
Of all the people you've seen doing well with Parkinson's, what's the key to a successful life, happy life with Parkinson's?
So it affects everybody differently. Some people do develop, disabling symptoms, quickly after they're first diagnosed. However, most people respond well to treatment, and you need to, tailor someone's regime in terms of medications, to what their major symptoms are. It's not just about medications. You need to signpost them to other therapists, whether it's speech therapists, physiotherapists, occupational therapists, but also empower them to know what they can do for themselves. So things like diet and exercise are really important, and trying to empower people by explaining about hydration, fibre, using things like green tea or antioxidants, and taking regular exercise, improve their core strength, improve their cardiovascular fitness, is things that they can do for themselves for the long term.
Brilliant advice from Tom Foltynie, who's one of the good guys in neurology.
Yeah, to be honest, I think most of them are, and I'm a bit biased because Tom's my neurologist now, and he's guided me expertly and reassuringly through my DBS journey. But yeah, that was a fantastic episode, really informative. If you haven't heard it, it's called Ask the Professor. It was one of the earlier episodes. And he's just very reassuring, very informative, and I think listening to him that day and subsequent days, I really take it on board, what he was saying. Baz Bloom also said something about, how to prepare for your appointment. Don't overload yourself effectively. Don't go with a long list, your top 3.
Always have a list of medications as well. What are you taking now, not what were you taking when you met him last time?
Correct, yeah, because it's easy for people to stumble in those situations when you put under that spotlight, right? So just a little bit of preparation, but don't worry at the same time. Like Tom said, a good neurologist will sort of tease it out of you effectively, right? That they'll get to the right answer. They can see a lot in you. So don't worry about having to explain everything, because these guys are pros, right?
Yeah, we had an hour of his time, which was really valuable. We really appreciate him doing that for us. But if you want an hour with a great neurologist, have a listen to Ask the Professor. Yeah, very, very informative, yeah. Who's next, Dave? We've got a really interesting one. Discussing dementia is one we were quite fearful of. We've got this lady called Rimona Weil, who, as in smile.
This is a running joke that day, I remember. Yeah, it's Weil like you smile. Yeah, it's W-E-I-L. So I was wondering how you pronounce it. Weil. And I said, I listened to something she'd done. It said, Weil as in smile. So I was on the tube going, Weil as in smile. I said to her, is it Weil as in smile? She said, yes, it is. I've never heard that before. So. Yeah. This is why she fell in love with neuroscience.
I love working in neuroscience. I got interested in neuroscience and neurology because of this kind of idea of cracking a problem, a bit like kind of Sherlock Holmes, that you want to solve a problem. And then, and that's one of the things about neurology that I always found really interesting. But actually what I found with Parkinson's is that the problem isn't necessarily about the diagnosis. Making a diagnosis of Parkinson's sometimes can take a while, but actually what I think the really interesting question is what's happening in the biology, what's happening in the brain. Why are people so different? You can have 12 people with Parkinson's and they'll all be different from each other. So it's actually about that kind of Sherlock Holmes element for me has become about trying to understand the processes involved. And part of that then starts to be about, well, can we think about treatments, and do we need to also really target different treatments for different people as well? So it's through that kind of those questions that I got really interested in neuroscience and neurology.
Yeah, I mean, we always say every person with Parkinson's seems to be different in many ways, but and I guess that on the cognitive side that also applies, right?
Yeah.
We've mentioned, both Dave and I on the podcast before, that we both suffer from what I think is mild cognitive impairment. The examples.
Yeah. Well, when I'm at a dinner party or something, I'm two beats off the pace.
Right.
You know, I can't quite engage in time. So I'm not quick enough. And I find that really frustrating, having been a broadcaster and on telly and stuff over the years. And I was normally quite sharp. And I find that so annoying when I'm just slightly off the pace. Is that a sign of dementia, though?
So, good question. I don't know. I mean, so thinking and memory problems in general are more common in Parkinson's, but actually there's lots of different things that can impact on thinking. Right. All of us, as we get older, forget people's names, for example, that you're with someone, you can't quite remember their name, or you might walk into a room and you can't quite remember why you went into that room. So that's not dementia, it's not the beginning of dementia, that's normal. Also, if you've got lots of things going on, if you're maybe a bit anxious or for whatever reason, your brain is busy processing lots of things, and then you won't be laying down memories. So again, anxiety, mood, those things can also interfere with thinking and memory. It's really interesting, though, that you say that you're both sort of worried about it and also thinking about it. And actually what I found with Parkinson's is people are much more aware of their own thinking than in other conditions to do with thinking and memory. So it's hard to know on an individual basis, but I think that there is likely to be lots of things going on. So it doesn't necessarily mean that there's dementia happening. I
read you're 6 times more likely to get dementia when you've got Parkinson's, though. That's true, isn't it?
There is one study that showed that. That's a Scandinavian study that said you're 6 times more likely to get dementia than the general population. And also that another statistic is that within 10 years there's about a 50% chance. But that is just a number, and actually underlying that, there's a lot of differences. So
what are the underlying risk factors then? I think age is up there, is a big one, right?
Age is the number one. So the older you are when you're diagnosed, the higher the risk. So actually, if you're diagnosed when you're much younger, those people are much less likely to develop dementia. So that's probably a good thing.
That was a great relief for us, but, you know, it's a real problem, isn't it, dementia?
It is, yeah, and it was a really delicate topic, and I think we did it justice, didn't we? Because it's, Rimona is great. I saw her this week, and she's very clear in how she talks, and you can tell that she was a bit guarded in answer to your question. You know, effectively, you were asking, "Am I on the road to dementia?" Right? And she was trying to sort of analyse and answer. Well, I don't think you are, and I don't think I am, but and you heard it there. The younger you're diagnosed, the less likely you are to get dementia. And there's different types of dementia, different degrees of dementia. And if you want to understand more, go back to that episode called Discussing Dementia, because it's a great listen. And actually, I came away feeling more positive and more reassured than before.
Yeah, she actually put her email address on the on the show notes, which if they've got any research going, you could always drop her an email, say, you know, listen to the podcast. Are you doing any research at the moment? I'd be interested, you know.
So she's another UCL neurologist, one of those, part of that crew, and they do some great work, both treating patients but also in the research field as well. So, you know, make yourself known, put yourself forward, and reach out to these people if you feel inclined and you want to take part in research.
Go to the research section on Parkinson's UK website as well. That's got loads of great information if you want to volunteer for research. People like Rimona dedicating their lives to sorting out a cure for dementia and Parkinson's. Mm-hmm. Next one is episode 20. We met Canadian broadcaster Harry Forestell. He told us what it was like to meet Michael J. Fox.
Me and my good buddy Mike. Yeah, right. That came up actually while you and I were sitting having a pint at the Windmill Pub in London. They were working way behind the scenes. I had written to Michael Fox asking if he would speak to me. We're both Canadian. We're both the same age. We're both 62. He's about a month younger than I am. And we both have Parkinson's. Of course, he's been dealing with his for a lot longer. And a colleague of his from the movie industry came up to him and said, "I'd like to do a documentary on you," and did, and quite a remarkable documentary called Still. and it's about an hour and a half long. So they were considering, Michael's publicists were considering doing some publicity around the documentary, but very limited because he's been dealing with Parkinson's for 30 years, which is a remarkable period of time. And it's very difficult for him to do a lot of public appearances. Nonetheless, I wrote to him and said, would you talk to me? So the only Canadian broadcast interview he gave was the one I went down to New York to do with him. And he couldn't have been more giving and more hospitable and funnier, more than anything. He wanted to put people at ease. And he did that very much with me. It was when he didn't travel with a big entourage. He just had a makeup artist and his publicist and a physiotherapist, because when Michael walks, he sort of stumbles from one foot to the other. He could tip over at any moment is the way he looks. Anyway, he came out of the elevator and thrust his hand out and grabbed my hand and shook it and said, "I've got bad news for you." I said, "Bad news? What bad news?" He said, "I think you've got Parkinson's." So we had a good little laugh over that. Thank you very much, Dr. Fox. I appreciate the diagnosis. But it was just a really good illustration of his key effort, which is to put people at ease, to put other people at ease. And the movie still has one moment in it that was very affecting, so affecting I had to stop watching it for a moment to collect myself emotionally. And it shows Michael Fox walking out of his apartment building onto a street with his therapist. And you can see him sort of hobbling from one foot to the other as he walks. And just as he gets down camera, in the very, very end of the building, you can see a person walk by him and you can hear her say, "Hi, Mr. Fox, how are you?" And as he turns to say hi and wave at her, he falls and stumbles. And you can see him just collapse in a heap of jumbled shoes and clothes. And his physiotherapist is trying to help him up, and he's lost his sneaker and he's putting his sneaker on. And the woman is so concerned, she turns around and walks back to him and says, "Are you all right? Is there anything I can do?" He says, and Michael Fox says, No, you just knocked me off my feet." And she sort of laughed and said, "Okay." And I thought, that shows tremendous grace. And grace in the form of the realization that woman could have gone home horrified at the impact of that fall had on him. Instead, he gave her a moment of humor that she could go home and tell her kids about. So that really typifies the man, I think. After 30 years of battling with Parkinson's and all of its challenges and disappointments, he still finds those moments of grace.
If you haven't seen that movie still, it's very much worth a watch, isn't it? It's brilliant. And Harry's interview was great, wasn't he? He's such an articulate guy, such a lovely guy.
It's Helen's favourite episode still to this day. And if you listen to the whole thing, you can tell he's a sort of natural storyteller, right? But really, really great guy, really informative. There's also a little story he tells about having his DBS, and he was awake for it, and it involved bourbon and ice. And it's, I won't spoil it if you haven't listened to it, but it's a cracking episode.
And amazing that he was outed by his daughter, because his daughter entered a story competition, and a story ended up winning the class competition, then winning an area competition, then winning the national competition, ending up on the Michael J. Fox website. So everybody knew he had Parkinson's because his daughter's wonderful essay. We're going to play that right at the end of the show.
Cool, yeah. I remember that vividly. She was 13, right? 13 years old. Right?
Patricia Forestell, yeah.
It's it'll touch your heart, I guarantee it. Who we got next?
We've got the great Baz Bloom coming next.
All right. Which episode? Because we had two with him, didn't we?
Yeah, we did one live at Parkon, 250 people in the audience, and it was the energy in the room was incredible. This is what happened when he introduced him.
I used to be quite embarrassed about my symptoms, but Dave keeps telling me I shouldn't be embarrassed, right?
No, you've got to be Parkin proud. I think you've got to develop rhino hide to live a happy life with Parkinson's.
I figure we're in good company, right? So, yes, excellent. Thank you very much.
Our guest is a bit of a star. He's a rock star in the field of neurology. He'll light up the room. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Baz Bloom!
Hey!
I like the music.
Yeah, it's good. You improve, right?
Yeah.
We did notice that you went to a Sting concert recently.
Yeah, in Philadelphia. Amazing guy, 73.
Wow.
He looks as fit as the two of you do.
Wow.
And,
he pointed to me first.
You're a lot taller than you look on Instagram.
Yeah. We were going to do this standing up, but then I looked at these two and I thought, no, I better not. How tall is it for you?
It's 6'7".
What are you, Dave?
2 meters and a little bit.
6'4".
Right, I'm just going to go now, I think.
Yeah.
No, but we're sitting down. We're going to have a comfy chat, and this is the second time you've been on the podcast, isn't it, Baz?
Yeah, we did one on the elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room, which is
mortality. Parkinson's, a difficult topic, and I think we addressed it well. I think it was well received.
Did, yes. If you haven't heard that episode, it really is fantastic. And in that episode, you talked about the two truths in Parkinson's, right? Impact on mortality is what on one side, and the other side is?
Well, the point is, if I see a person with Parkinson's in my clinic, I will tell them, you'll grow old, and that's true. If I speak to policymakers, to funding bodies, I tell them Parkinson's is a deadly disease, which is also true. And the two truths can be reconciled because you do lose numbers of years lived because of Parkinson's. And the younger you get the disease, the more years you lose. Luckily, it's not many years, as many as, for example, in ALS or other deadly diseases. But it's time that we call this disease by its name, which is not only horrible during life, but it's a deadly disease. And I'm saying this because I think we deserve more attention and we deserve more funding to eventually get rid of this disease.
It was amazing. Baz Bloom, what a guy. The energy in that room was incredible, wasn't it?
That was the first time we ever did that, right? A live episode, and we had a rock star neurologist to join us. What a guest. And I think we were there for over an hour and we had a really good chat with him. He's so charismatic, so informative. We had a few funny moments, but a few serious moments as well. It was a really wonderful episode, and yeah, I agree. I felt the energy in the room. I felt the love in the room as well, actually. It's really nice, because I was a bit nervous, I'm not used to doing that sort of thing very much, particularly since Parkinson's and my symptoms on show like that. And it can be quite daunting, but luckily it went quite well.
It went down very, very well. And what a guy, Baz Bloom. Really, really incredible guy. If you see his stuff on YouTube, he's got so much energy, so much compassion. Such a great guy.
Great guy. I think we should have him on again, don't you think?
Yeah, we'll definitely get him on. This coming year, we'll get him on again.
Yeah, definitely. I'm enjoying this, Dave. What's next?
We've got the top 10 symptoms of Parkinson's.
And it's been voiced by
Kim Robson.
Yes.
Who's got a great voice. And we put a bit of Led Zeppelin with it as well, so just make it a bit rocky. But these are the top 10 most complained about symptoms of Parkinson's. Here you go.
Parkinson's, the top 10 worst symptoms. At 10, the meds don't work forever, it's wearing off. At 9, it's far from fine, it's thinking difficulties. In at 8, when you simply can't wait, bladder and bowel problems. At 7, I hope you're not in a hurry, it's slow movement. At 6, Parkinson's can be a real pain, literally. At 5, it's got me singing the blues, it's low mood and depression. At 4, those worries simply won't go away. It's anxiety. At 3, walking's not great. It's down to your gait. At 2, it'll leave you in a heap. It's lack of sleep. And at number 1, the worst symptom of Parkinson's, according to a survey of 1,000 people, is fatigue.
There you go. That was the top 10 countdown of the worst symptoms of Parkinson's. It was a good episode, that.
It was. It could have been quite depressing, but we made it quite informative, and we had some guests on and people really explaining some of the hidden sides of Parkinson's in a very eloquent way and very real way. It's a good listen. Very good listen.
There are 50 episodes you can have a listen to now. Giving you a little taste of some of the things we've done over the 3.5 years.
Yeah, tell us what your favourite episode is as well. Reach out to us at hello@twoparkinsinapod.com. Or on social media. Well, that's it now, Dave, right? That was look back at 50 episodes. How does it make you feel?
Very proud, actually.
Yeah,
very proud.
Yeah.
When I started, I wasn't sure whether it would be a success. It's been a success. Very proud of all the things I've done in broadcasting. It's one of the things I'm most proud of, because I think it's helped so many people, and we get the response we get from people. Just me out and about is incredible. We did a walk in Battersea Park the other day. This guy just came up to us out of the blue and said, just want to thank you for the work you've done. My mum listens all the time.
He wasn't part of the Parkinson's walk, ironically. No. He was just a random guy, and his mum, Lorraine, who listens to the show, shout out to you, Lorraine, came and said hello and, how much of a difference it made. And, I don't know. It makes it worthwhile, doesn't it?
Makes it really worthwhile, really worthwhile.
I hope this hasn't been too self-indulgent for you, but we've enjoyed that. I hope you have as well. It's sometimes good to look back, but often it's good to look forward as well. So hopefully another 50 episodes to come.
What are your reflections on the 50 episodes?
Well, it's been a journey for me, and a lot of the journey is about sharing and being open, which was a new thing to me before we started this podcast and before I met you. So that's been good. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from the guests that we've had, like over 100 guests, and whether it's neurologists or healthcare professionals or people with the condition or their loved ones, it's always great to hear from them. I think I've probably got a little bit more creative myself doing this podcast, become a bit of a storyteller in a way that I haven't been before, become more humble. I felt a lot of pride, like you said, doing this podcast and achieving something that seems to make a difference, and that's made me really happy and it's really rewarding, and I'm in awe of the community that we serve here. And it's given me hope, it's given me joy, and it's given me purpose, and it's given me a wonderful friendship, Dave. And I'm really happy to have met you and be doing this with you and being part of this thing that we've got.
Likewise. Some incredible people we've met over the years, and hopefully many more to come, and many more episodes coming your way as well. It'd be nice to get to 100, wouldn't it?
It would. What, in age or in episodes?
both would be nice.
Well, 50 on both counts for me. So, let's another 50. Yes, let's hope for that. Yeah. Excellent. See you next time.
Bye.
The Earthshaker by Patricia Forestell. Delay is the deadliest form of denial. It's funny how quickly the smallest tremor can transform into an earthquake. How a seemingly harmless thing can so quickly evolve into something perilous. When my father started to shake, I didn't pay it much attention. In my 12-year-old mind, anything could be cured. I and the rest of the world were invincible. When his quiver was diagnosed as an essential tremor, nothing changed. My idealistic world was intact. Everything was perfect. But after years of tests, exams, and changed medications, a discovery came to light. This prognosis transfigured my father's little tremor into an earthquake that demolished everything that I knew. On the day that my parents told the news to our family, Parkinson's was the farthest thing from my mind. At the time, I wasn't even certain of what it was. When my mother called me into my sister's bedroom, it was strange, but I thought nothing of it. Carefree and happy, I twirled around in Erin's green desk chair, laughing at my parents and younger sister, all squished together on her small bed. Then my father started to talk. As I listened to him explain in a serious tone, a lump seemed to lodge itself in my throat. I had an idea of where he was going with this. I tried to swallow while I listened, the back of my eyes prickling. I have a disease called Parkinson's, my father said solemnly, and the iron ball in my throat dropped to the pit of my stomach. Everything that my parents were saying was drowned out by the ringing in my ears. The pink walls on my sister's bedroom spun around me, the rest of the world just smudged colours. Panic started to engulf me, choking me in desperate fear. I sat there just watching my family as they started to come back into focus, like a camera readjusting. My face felt frozen, and I held tears back, knowing if I cried it would only frighten Erin. I watched as my father's lips moved in a futile attempt to reassure us. We have options, my mother told us. Your father is a prime candidate for medical trials and deep brain stimulation. My heart stopped for a second. I just sat there, waiting for her to continue. After a moment of silence, I stood up and stumbled out. As soon as I made it out the door and eyesight, I collapsed against the wall, breathing heavily. I panted, trying to catch my breath and hold back tears simultaneously, allowing myself a moment of weakness. Taking a final deep breath, I got up, staggered to my room and grabbed my laptop. Hours of research later, I found that my father's only options were medication, which only works for so long, and deep brain stimulation, a surgery that entailed my father's brain being opened to the world and probed while he was awake. I sat and let it sink in, absorbing everything I knew so far. My father had an incurable neurological disorder that would, bit by bit, take away his ability to control his limbs. His tremor had started to quake. My father's diagnosis shook the ground beneath me, crumbling the stability that I craved. But over time, as I had gained some perspective, I've realised that my father's diagnosis could have been worse. He still has his memories, his health, and for now, his main motor functions. Parkinson's will eventually steal his ability to walk and control his body. The disease has taken things from my family, but it has also taught us. It has shown me that my time walking and running with my father is precious and limited. Every moment that I have with him that would have previously been an everyday occurrence now holds a special meaning for me. Through this journey with him, I've discovered that his Parkinson's is not a sentence to the end of his normal life, but rather a challenge, an invitation to see the simple joys that I'd previously been missing. It's been an awakening to how much I take for granted and how much my relationship with my father truly means to me.
You've been listening to Two Parkies in a Pod, a Parkinson's podcast with Dave and Kuan. To get in touch, visit the website twoparkiesinapod.com or send your voice notes or emails to hello@twoparkiesinapod.com.